Hello everyone, welcome back to the Topical Hour. Today we're going to rapidly review Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Now I know that I reviewed every Treyarch Call of Duty Zombies map ever like 3 videos ago, but I figured I'd make a little series reviewing every COD Black Ops game in general. Now if you're into other games and you really don't want COD content on this channel, that's completely fine. I'm only posting on this COD series every other week, so it's normal videos intertwined with this series until we reach BO1, because we're working backwards. And just like last time I did something with this series, we are disassociating with Vanguard. So a good place to start with any COD game is the campaign, and I'll be honest, this campaign is actually one of the better ones we've gotten in COD history. I mean, it's a COD campaign at the end of the day, but the story connects back to the events of Black Ops 1, and it takes place during the Cold War. And we'll start here, because if there's one event in American history you can make a game out of, it's the Cold War. The Cold War was really interesting because everyone was basically trying to one-up each other, constantly developing weapons and the space race and all that. It was probably the closest to spy movies and all that we've ever been because of the level of espionage going on at the time. And this campaign takes full advantage of that. The plot of this campaign is actually relatively simple. There's this guy, codenamed Perseus, and he stole a nuke from the US and wants to detonate it somewhere. Except later in the campaign, our team of people discover that in reality he found a way to access Project Red Light Green Light, a program that has nukes stored all over the country. Perseus plans on using it to nuke almost all of Europe and have the US take the blame, which it kind of would have been our fault for having them in the first place, but throughout this campaign we play as a NATO operative codenamed Bell. Bell works with a team of covert operatives being Russell Adler, Alex Mason, the OG, Frank Woods, the fan favorite, Helen Park, the simp magnet, and some other character models with names. This team is overseen by Jason Hudson, a CIA agent tasked with stopping Perseus. He initially lies to Bell and the rest of the team and tells them that Perseus only has one nuke, but he quite literally has access to all of them. So this entire game is basically Mission Impossible with a sprinkle of cat and mouse, and I gotta say, this campaign is what every COD campaign should be. Short and sweet. We do not need a long, tedious journey with the same reskin levels over and over. You literally never go to the same place twice in this game, besides the Mind Twist level, but it's fine there because of how good the game looks in that level. I can't go over every single mission, just for time reasons, but the best ones are the one that takes place in the Berlin streets, Brick in the Wall, the one that takes place in the Soviet base, Red Light Green Light, the one that takes place in a more civilized Soviet base, being Desperate Measures, and obviously the one that brings us back to where it all began in Black Ops 1. We have echoes of a Cold War in the mountains. Only this time we play as Mason instead of Hudson, which, by the way, playing this mission for the first time did make me violently unload a dump into my shorts, but with nostalgia or without nostalgia, these are genuinely good missions. Almost all of them shake up the Call of Duty formula in some way and give you really cool options and characters to play off of. Even though Bell doesn't really have a single spoken line, all of the other characters and the fact that there are dialogue trees in this game make it a fun experience to see how characters react and things like that. But I do have a teensy little problem with this campaign, and that's the ending. Actually, there are 2 endings, and one of them I like, but the other one kinda sucks. So the first one, the one I kinda like, has literally all of the good guys die. I'll just explain this ending by saying that Bell, the operative we've been playing as this whole time, has secretly been a brainwashed Soviet agent the entire time. His original memories slowly goad him into not trusting Adler, and that's it. We don't actually get a why. So you either choose to give Adler the location of the detonation site, or you lie to him and turn it into a setup. If you lie to Adler, you go to a location known as Duga, which is just another multiplayer and zombies map, but the setup takes place and the operative known as Perseus swoops in to save Bell, and the agents we've been working with for the whole game are killed pretty quickly. Woods, Mason, and whoever you save between Lazar and Park are killed by your own bullets, and for last, you walk into a nearby building and kill Adler, either by stabbing him in the chest or just shooting him on entrance. Perseus takes you by the shoulder and claims that the true Perseus could never be one person, and that it was a cooperative effort across the world. We don't get to see it, but it's implied that the communists then take over the planet, at least in a political sense. Basically, we lost the Cold War in this ending. Technically speaking, this ending cannot actually be considered canonical because of the events of Black Ops 2, but it's a fun what-if scenario nevertheless. Which, by the way, this ending is actually the one I like. I don't know why either. Now for the good ending, as some have dubbed it. Basically, this is an all-or-nothing mission against Perseus, and it's a time mission where we have to fight through what feels like an army and blow something up, blah blah blah, all that usual Call of Duty stuff. The difference here is the cutscene we get after the main celebration, but it's not over type thing. We get a cutscene of Bell and Adler sitting up on top of a cliff. Adler tells Bell that he's made a lot of sacrifices for the United States, but that Adler needs him to make one more. They then both draw pistols on each other, and it cuts as we hear a gunshot ring out. It's pretty heavily implied here that Adler kills Bell because he can't bring himself to trust him, which, by the way, you could just, let Bell go on about his normal life. If you don't trust him not to betray you in the field, just let him go do something else. He doesn't have to be in the army. Also, we do see Adler in multiplayer cutscenes that take place after the events of the campaign, so Bell is for sure dead here. I guess the real reason I don't like this ending is just because it feels like they had to get rid of Bell so the continuity of Black Ops 1 and 2 would make more sense, even though you could have just said that Bell died some other way than just Adler killing him for a contrived reason that doesn't make much sense. Anyway, even though I think the ending didn't hold up as well as the rest of the campaign, I still think it's the best Black Ops campaign since the first one, but we'll get to those games later. This story gets an 8 out of 10. The missions are great and the story is pretty good in tying all the other games in, but the ending still kills some of what the story was building to though. And now we have the multiplayer aspect of the game, which is arguably the biggest part. I've never been a really big multiplayer guy myself, but this one feels pretty boring and stale. This multiplayer basically blends everything we've seen before, but it feels like it just wasn't done with the same soul as some of the other games. Like the Nuketown map in this game feels really boring and not fun. Same with Express from Black Ops 2 and some of the other maps that were brought back. It feels a lot like when a game has everything that I should like, but it just doesn't work. Also, some of this might come from the weapons. The melee weapons in this game should not have been included and do nothing but harm the game. It's just like, what's the point of using a weapon like the Krig 6 and trying new things that this game introduces when a way better weapon in the game is the Psy? It's ridiculous and has led to more patches than I care to count because someone on the developer's side realized that maybe an infinite damage weapon that can attack faster than most guns can fire isn't the best idea. So, overall, with boring and stale maps, with broken and also somehow boring weapons and ties to Warzone and its systems that weren't necessary, nobody really liked the multiplayer in this game. Except for the people that would abuse the melee weapon system so no one else could actually enjoy the game. Yeah, I think this multiplayer did a thing or two wrong. But for what it's worth, the movement and things like that feel pretty smooth. But all that's nothing compared to what the game gets wrong in this area, so it gets a 4 out of 10. It's just boring. Most of the points it does get is for not looking half bad, and because leveling up guns in this game is what kept me playing after the battle passes ended. Oh, and if you're someone who's a fan of Cold War's multiplayer and you want to see a more in-depth review of it, then you might want to watch someone else's. I'm just not as into multiplayer as some of the other reviewers on Call of Duty, and you might get a better review from someone who's playing the game with the intention of actually enjoying it. And now, the part of the video where I talk about the things I talked about a couple videos ago. I already reviewed all of the Zombies maps of Cold War, so here we'll focus a lot more on mechanics than the actual maps, seeing as I gave each of them a number score already. And we'll also touch on Outbreak and Onslaught. So the Zombies mechanics in Cold War are pretty different from the other games. First, we have the scrap system. You have common and rare scraps. Common gets you things like equipment, armor, and gun upgrades. Rare scraps get you score streaks, higher tier armor, and higher tier gun upgrades. The scrap system is probably the singular best progression mechanic since the introduction of the modern power switch, and I do not say that lightly. It's just something that you don't really think about, and then you start thinking about it. It's kind of hard to explain. Think of it like this: you play through the game normally, and then maybe you don't have enough for Pack-a-Punch or PAP, but your gun isn't doing enough damage, and then you realize you can upgrade it at an armor station. Or better yet, you don't have enough for Juggernog or Jug, so you upgrade your armor so you can take more hits from zombies. Overall, a pretty cool mechanic, and I'm glad they added it. Now for Outbreak. It's not a traditional round-based mode, but more like a difficult and different version of Zombies. Outbreak is something you make time to play. You don't just load it up and play for a few minutes. The earlier rounds for the standard player can take about 10 to 15 minutes. You usually accomplish 3 side tasks for extra supplies like scrap, guns, and points, and then you get to the main event, which gives you a ton of points and a new checkpoint with an armor station, an equipment table, a PAP machine, a Wonder Fizz machine, and a machine that allows you to essentially teleport to a new area and complete another objective. Outbreak is pretty hit or miss at times, but it's pretty hard to go wrong if you want to play a game of it. Honestly, the only times I'd ever not want to play the mode is when I'd get my least favorite objective with my least favorite map. But overall, this mode is still good. It just doesn't have that special stuff that makes a mode like Zombies great. It gets a 6 out of 10, but I still wish they kept workshopping it though. And that's probably a theme you'll see in this Call of Duty retrospective series a lot. Most of these games aren't fixed in a later update, but their issues are fixed in the next game, which is cool sometimes, but is also Black Ops 4 at other times. Taking all of the scores I've given maps before and putting the new mechanics and Outbreak into the picture, and oh wait, there's another mode called Onslaught. It takes normal sized multiplayer maps and does a so-so job of adding an undead touch to them, which is cool, but it's got a little bit of that console exclusive taste. So people playing on anything other than PlayStation 4 and 5 couldn't access this mode at launch. And that's bullshit! But anyway, the Zombies mode as a whole gets an 8.5 out of 10. The mechanics are fantastic, all of the maps are at least good, but it feels a bit too easy sometimes, and Outbreak definitely needs some tuning before I'm comfortable with calling it a great mode. And so, the moment everyone's been waiting for. What does Cold War as a game get out of 10? Well, it gets an 8 out of 10. The campaign is stellar, even if it falters a bit towards the end, and Zombies is really good and diverse, but we only got 4 round-based maps, and they're all on the easy side, and the Rampage Inducer feels like a cheaper way to fix this problem, but it does fix it, so I don't mind. And obviously, the multiplayer is one of the most disappointing aspects of the game, and sadly, it's the biggest. But I'm completely comfortable with saying that if the multiplayer of this game was better, then this would be one of the greats in Call of Duty and gaming in general. Everything else is actually that good. Anyway, guys, this review is the first in a long series, so if you don't want to miss any more, then make sure to subscribe. Oh, and like and comment, too. I mean it, you'd better like and comment. Or not, that's fine. Play nice, people.